Oh boy, sorry about that, but I had to attempt it. Burt Bacharach died today at the age of 94. American legend, composer, pianist, songwriter, American treasure. He was born in 1928 in Kansas City. Kansas City, the home of Charlie Parker, Count Basie, Lester Young, Pat Metheny, and a whole host of other great artists. He moved to New York at an early age. His mother was a piano player and songwriter. She wrote a little bit. I don't think she was a star or had any kind of professional career, but they did notice talent in Burt early on. He went to college for music. He met a guy in 1957 by the name of Hale David at the Brill Building in New York. The Brill Building is a place for songwriting back then. It was literally like an office, and people like Carole King and Paul Simon and Neil Diamond, and in this case, Burt and Hal went there and wrote songs to put on people's records. In 1957, they caught a break with a song called "The Story of My Life" that Marty Robbins recorded and took to number 1. So they had an early, number 1 hit. He's not even 20 years old, and he's got a number 1 hit. He then meets Dionne Warwick in 1961, and that really kicks off a long time partnership. Think of the songs like "Walk On By," "Say a Little Prayer for Me," "Do You Know the Way to Santa Fe." Classic songs. In the mid-60s, George Martin produced a soundtrack for a movie called Alfie, and he wrote those songs. And he was kind of a perfectionist, and the singer that performed that song said it was like 29 takes to get that right, because he's literally composing, and that vocal has to be right there in time, because these songs are not being loosely sung on. They need to be right. And he's going to make sure that other songs... So in the mid-60s, he marries Angie Dickinson. She's an actress. They were married for 15 years. In 1968, "This Guy's in Love with You," Herb Alpert song, is that one of the best love songs ever? Liam Gallagher from Oasis says that it is. That's interesting that he says he wants to cover it someday. Maybe he already has. I don't know. What else did he write? The Carpenters, "Closer to You," right? "I Long to Be." Beautiful vocal on that. A huge hit for them. "Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head" by Johnny Rivers. Awesome. I remember hearing that song when I was a kid, and just the cadence of that vocal and the way that the song is constructed. I didn't know it was Burt Bacharach, and I didn't know who he was. And to be real frank, I didn't know a lot about him even prior to doing this video, but of course I've heard about him my whole life, and I did know that he wrote some of those great songs, but I found out some things today that were interesting. So he gets divorced with Angie Dickinson in 1980. A few years prior to that, his writing partner, Hal David, who does the lyrics for him. So he composes the music. David does the lyrics. They have a falling out. So Burt's on a talk show. Let's just call it The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson in the late 70s, and meets a performer, Carol Bayer Sager. And after the show, he says, "Let's go out to dinner and let's get together and write some music together." So what do they turn out? They end up getting married in 82. "Turn on your heart light," right? Neil Diamond. Do we have a Neil Diamond show coming up next week? Great song. I remember when that song came out. I think it came out in 82. Awesome song. It just jumps off the record. "On My Own." Big hit for Patti LaBelle and Michael McDonald. I remember listening to that song, I was in middle school, and just loved it. It wasn't what was popular when I was in 7th grade, and you're not going to run around the locker room bragging about the new Michael McDonald, Patti LaBelle song. So you kind of internalize some of these songs, and And they always, you know, kind of, and they still touch you. A song that did really get huge, and I think it won a Grammy, was That's What Friends Are For. And that's the song that I attempted to play harmonica on when we started this video, and I want to apologize for that. I used to play a lot of harmonica. Now I just run my mouth a lot on the internet. But Elton John, Dionne Warwick, Stevie Wonder, Gladys Knight. That song was huge. What a perfectly constructed... You talk about a perfectly constructed song. And by the way, go back and listen to the bridge of On My Own. Well, it once was so easy, and I believe... I mean, I can't sing like either one of them, but again, you're building songs, and you have a signature sound, and you're using odd time signatures sometimes. And yes, some of the songs sound really basic, but they're also very complex, and there's a lot going on. That's why it's ear candy. That's why when you're 8 years old or 10 years old and Heartlight comes on, or you're On My Own, you know, it resonates with you because of that. You know, a friend reminded me that always something there to remind me. Naked Eyes, huge hit for Naked Eyes. I'm not even sure if is that one of their only hits. I found out that Dionne Warwick cut some demos of that in '63, and it kind of didn't really work for her. But Naked Eyes took that song high in the charts. What else? How could I forget the theme to Arthur? When You Get Caught Between the Moon and New York City, just a kick-ass song. I think it won a Grammy too. Might have won. I think it won an Academy Award. He's won 3. So what? Alfie, Arthur theme, just great songs. He did a song with Ronnie Millsap called "Any Day Now" that I remember hearing in the back of the station wagon in the early '80s. You know, again, in the late '90s, he's working with Elvis Costello and doing award-winning hits. He's working with Jamie Cullum. Check out Jamie Cullum sometime in the 2000s, doing nice jazz stuff. Who are the great American songwriters and composers of the last 50, 60 years? Gershwin, Lieber and Stoller, Holland Dozier Holland, Joni Mitchell, Carole King, Smokey Robinson, you know, Stevie Wonder, Bob Dylan, Burt Bacharach. It's a legend, master, American treasure. Rest in peace. Peace out. We have a show coming up tomorrow. We have shows every day. Subscribe to my channel. Thanks a lot for supporting me, and we'll see you later. See ya.